Welcome back to a convincing win post-game episode of Banditland Boulevard. Trevor Hauer here with Tony LaMonica, aka Boxhead98TL. A season high in a game of goals for the Buffalo Bandits, 18-12 over the Philadelphia Wings on Saturday's matinee game. Huge win. We needed this win. The Bandits are back to above 500 and in sixth in the playoff standings.
Man, you can't ask more for that. I mean, like I said, the magic number was 14, and they put a little bit more boost in their energy. So good for them on winning against Philadelphia to make a statement. And not only that, but folks, hear us out when we say this. You're looking at two players on this roster alone who are number one and number two in the scoring as well. And that is our very own Dane Smith and Josh Byrne.
And when you see, as a Bandits fan, when you see those two clicking, we always say on this show that it's so hard to stop them both. And
it is.
When they're both in a rhythm, God bless the other team, because if you want to stick around, it's going to be a tough outing the rest of the way. And Dane Smith, this was his breakout game this season.
Mm-hmm.
It took him a while to get it, but my God, he came through. 12 points for number 92. He had a 10-point night, I believe, against, was it Saskatchewan, possibly throwing a silent 10?
I believe so, yes.
He threw a loud 12 points up in this game on last Saturday's 1 o'clock game against Philly. What a game. I mean, Josh Byrne was great. Chase Fraser's back from injury, and he looked pretty good too. There's some good and some bad, and we'll talk about that, all about that on this postgame.
Absolutely. And especially with how this was, like you said, which was a must-win situation, and to really get the foot back on the gas pedal for these guys. And I am so glad that they came together as one. And again, they played a whole team effort. It was, you couldn't actually ask for a better outcome than this. And especially going with a victory here this past week to go into Colorado this coming up.
Yes, and if you wanted the Bandits to win this game, there were a couple keys, and one of them being, you got to look at where Philly is in the standings. They're not the best team, so Buffalo needed to jump on that opportunity. And how do you do that? You start off fast. The Bandits jumped out to a 5-1 lead in the first quarter, something that we're really not used to seeing in the 2024 campaign. We're usually not used to seeing the Bandits jump off to fast starts. It's usually it kind of takes them a while to get their feet wet. Maybe they take a 1-0 lead, but then they let the other team score a quick 2 or 3, and then the Bandits are catching up before the half. No, they jumped right out of the gates and went straight for the throat, which I haven't seen all season long, but damn it, it's working. Keep doing it.
Yeah, guys, the fast starts is obviously your key effort now going into the last remaining games of the season, but you can't use up all your energy in just one half alone. You got to play all 60 minutes to win these games. And kudos to you guys for sticking strong defensively and offensively. You guys held your ground, and you march into Colorado this coming week. Don't lose your touch, because that's what you got to go into the Loud House, according to the National Lacrosse League. So you guys got to go make sure you're louder than them.
Yep, the Loud House with artificial crowd noise and a loud announcer and a really, really, really loud music. We always say it on this show. Like Colorado, they bring the fan base, win or lose, but it's not the Loud House. We know what the true Loud House was, and that's in the 716 at Seymour H. Knox, the Third Plaza over there in downtown Buffalo. That's where the true Loud House truly is. But Tony, 5-1 lead. Couldn't ask for a much better start, and you got your secondary guys going right away. Tehoka and jumping on the score sheet in the first quarter. Dane Smith scoring the first 2 of the game. Look at that. Kyle Buchanan, Ian McKay, Chris Kluche scoring in the third quarter. Those are 3 of your secondary guys showing up and showing out, leading to an 8-5 lead at the half. And then in that fourth quarter, I mean, it was getting close, 11-9 after 3, with more goals coming from Fraser. Welcome back, by the way. Dane Smith, Kyle Buchanan. And then the fourth quarter was just a whooping. Even though the Bandits scored 2 of those goals in the empty net with Nick Weiss and Steve Priolo, Josh Byrne continued to pile it on. Chase Fraser continued to pile it on. Dane Smith, Brandon Robinson, a complete team win. And a big highlight that we mentioned before we went on the air was we really didn't take a lot of penalties whatsoever.
None.
We took 2. And Philadelphia went 1 of 2 on the power play. Buffalo had 3 power plays and went a perfect 100%, 3 for 3. We said so many positives right there. That is the
Yeah.
most complete team win of the season. That's why you scored 18 goals.
Yeah, you guys, the special teams do help you win these games. And when you got the man advantage, you take advantage when it's there. You don't give them any time. You don't give them any chances. You tire their defense out. You get their goaltending over guessing on the shots. I mean, obviously Dane Smith had a purpose here, and we're going to bring that up too later, like who was the player of our game. But
Yeah.
let's just talk about it right now. On this power play, especially how Dane Smith just controlled the outcome, how he made sure that everybody was a part of this. And you know what? Kudos to Dane Smith on his breakout game of the year. And right now, we may have not seen that yet. Maybe he might post a 16-pointer the following game. Who
14.
knows?
Yep.
But again, that's what leadership does. And especially for the assistant captain, not only getting 5 goals, and like I even said before prior, that 2 or 3, if he scores those, you're still winning the game.
Yep.
And he scores 5 to make a statement. That was huge on his part, and our power play to become with it. He had 2 of the 3. Chase Fraser had the other power play goal, and that's why you guys are dangerous out there, because when you took advantage of the situation, you didn't allow it to go away. You capitalized and you conquered their penalty killing.
Yes, and they didn't really have to bait you. I mean,
No.
they were trying to give you some of the rough stuff there in the corner, maybe after the play, maybe in a 30-second shot clock violation. You dropped the ball and ran the other way. I mean,
That's it.
You are at this point in the season when you're at 7-7 at the time, you can't afford to give them more opportunities to score goals and to win that game over you. Because if
That's
you go
right.
7-8, we're talking about a huge different story, a much different story than an 8-7 record. But what I really, really enjoyed from this game was your leaders showed up and they shined. And this was the most complete game from them. This was the most complete game defensively. Face-offs, I felt like could have done a little bit better. As we were 15 of 34, so a little less than 50%. I know they were calling the face-off violation a bunch on Connor Farrell there, but it really didn't seem to have any effect on the outcome of the game.
Right.
Because the Bandits still won by 6 goals.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's some stuff there. A lot of shots, 67-63 in favor of the Bandits. And, I mean, Matt Vince, this wasn't a fantastic game from him by any stretch.
Well,
but
he was busy.
51 freaking saves is nothing to scoff at either.
Mm-mm. No, 63 total shots on him and 51 of them to be saves. God, you know what? You can say about his age, you can say about his design and his weaknesses, but he just still finds a way to win games for you. And that is huge to have right now, especially this late in the regular season. You cannot deny the fact, folks. Yeah, he's in his 40s. He's just creeping in his 40s, but he's still got so much to give to this sport. And it's unrealistically how good this guy is in the net. Yeah. And yet I know about the banter, and I've heard time and time again, dude, when is Vince going to just say it's enough? When, like I said before last week, when you told me honestly what were my thoughts about it, when he's ready to say I'm done, he's ready to say he's done. He will let us know when he's done.
And he's not going down
He'll
without
play his
any
1 or
fight.
2 contract years, and then that's it. But other than that,
not going down without a fight, Tony.
He's not going without a fight. Not going down without a fight.
That's one of the things I respect about Matt Vince. He can have a bad game in his 40s and bounce back, despite the fan base and even us on this show talking about, like, all right, when is it realistically his time to maybe hang it up? Dude, he comes in the next week in 50-plus saves. I mean, he's not the Matt Vince of last year where he's holding almost every single team under 10 goals. But
that's hard to do.
He's better than any other goalie on the market that's in their 40s. I mean, if you pull in any other goalie in their 40s, maybe probably out of retirement because they're all retired except for Matt Vince, and put him into that and see and wonder why you're not having any similar success. But Matt Vince, dude, I mean, there were some goals he should have saved, but 51 saves at his age. And at this point in the season where you need to buckle down, this was a performance that Matt Vince needed. And this is the pick-me-up from Matt Vince to his fans and the people that don't really like him in Banditland anymore. But this is more of a see what I can still do. Like, yeah, I might let in a few softies here and there, but like when I get offensive support, I can afford to give those goals up. Like, it's no
Sure.
big deal.
Yeah, you're right. And Vince, like again, he proves it time and time again why he is the GOAT of the National Lacrosse League in net. And that's because he just has the knowledge, the know-how, where I have to place myself on the shots. He wins games. That's huge to have, especially at his age. And you know what, folks? Take notes on this guy because he may allow some weak ones, but boy, when he needs to make the lockdown saves,
Yep.
he does without question. And you guys all have to understand he's not going anywhere I think for at least another 4 years. I'll give him his high school years left or college years left. You name it, but he's not going nowhere.
He's got at least another contract year that we know of. So
That is true.
we know he's locked up for at least another season.
One more year. Yep.
I want to give credit to Philadelphia. When they're down 5-1, they didn't say the game was over. They came back and made it a game there in the third quarter.
Yeah, they tied it up.
They did tie it up. They scored this is a goal that I think Vince should have at least seen, but I'll give the player credit. It was the fourth Philly goal that they went to review for the batting motion. Like,
yes.
The ball jumped. It was right there in front of him in the crease, and he scooped it up with one hand and put it over the shoulder. So him, and then, of course, we got to talk about Joey Rez, the player that got away in Banditland. That dude at his age, he played on the Bandits 10 years ago, and he's still playing like his 2014 self. Joey Rez at Terrence, I keep saying to anyone, wherever I talk about former Bandits with, I always say Joey Rez was the one that got away. And it's same thing with like a Luke Wiles situation where I think the organization kind of rubbed him the wrong way and kind of gave him the boot out the door prematurely that he wanted to leave. But Joey Rezateritz, dude, 10 years since he's been on this team, maybe 8 or 9 years since he's been on this team, he's still sipping out of the fountain of youth looking like a complete player. So Philly has some young guns. Mitch Jones, we know him very, very well. Same with Blaze Reardon.
Yes,
they had solid nights too. They never said die, even though they're in the bottom of the barrel there in the standings. This is an Eastern Conference game. It's the Saturday before the holiday, and they wanted to get a win before their home fans. They really didn't say die. That fourth quarter kind of got out of hand for them, but when they're down 5-1 and you make it an 11-9 game going into the fourth quarter, make it anyone's game going in, they never really died. So, we'll give them credit too because they were taking care of Bandits' mistakes in the second and third quarter.
Yeah, and especially with Holden Catoni too, as well, with the way he's been scoring for them is unheard of. You put Rezateritz, Catoni, and Jones all together, and look what they did. They all each averaged 8 points that game, and trying to keep Philadelphia especially involved. But again, with that final fourth quarter and that push that the Bandits had, it was hard to contain. And yet, again, the defense was really struggling against that. And what can you say? Because you gave up 12 points to Smith, 11 points to Byrne.
Yep.
So again, that's tough to stop. And if they find a weakness in you, they're going to exploit it. And that's what the Philadelphia defense has been struggling this whole season.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It was almost like we saw a motivational speech going in from that intermission between the third and the fourth quarter. Johnny T probably called the guys over and said, you guys know what you need to do. Like, if you guys if you win this quarter, the season is alive and you're pushed to a second straight title is alive. But if you lose this quarter, your season might blow up in smoke and in flames. Going into the next week in a barn where the Bandits normally don't win, or at least it gives them headaches in the Loud House. So win this quarter and it keeps your season alive. The Bandits said, enough said. And they grabbed the bull straight by the horn and pulled that freaking thing down. When you look at that fourth quarter, Fraser, 55 seconds in, scores. He's coming in flying like a bat out of hell, crashes into the net, but it was a great goal. And then from one stretch, from 8:35 to go in the fourth quarter to 56 seconds, the Bandits went on a 6-0 run to put Philadelphia Wings away. Going up 13-11 and then putting the coup de grace into them, the final punch, 18-11. They scored with 10 seconds to go, but it really didn't matter for anything. Except prolonging the outcome of the Bandits' win.
Sure.
I mean, the Bandits, I don't know what you guys consider a blowout. I consider anything above or 7 goals and above really in lacrosse a blowout. I don't know, 6, A 16-10 might be considered a blowout, or a 15-9 might be considered a blowout, but this is like the first blowout, I guess, of the season the Bandits have had as far as a winning fashion in their favor. They've
Yeah,
the largest margin of victory before this was what, Tony? 2, 3 goals?
had to be, or just overtime wise.
Largest margin of defeat, I think, was 4, and that was week 1, where we lost 17.
Yeah, that was especially against Albany.
Yep. So we've been playing every game the Bandits have had this season has been a close game. It's about time we kind of sipped out of the fountain of 2008, 2009, 2022, where just blowing teams out. So it felt good to go back to those types of ways. Back when we had like Connor Fields, and back when everyone was healthy, and when the fans were just starting to come back in from COVID, and we're blowing teams out by like 6, 7 at least per night.
Sure.
I was missing those feelings, but it's great to have that back, and it's also great not to have such a nail-biting finish at the end. It gets to a point where you're like, oh my God, I can't take this one goal going into the fourth quarter anymore. Like overtime, blah, blah, blah. We had overtime against Saskatchewan. We had 2-goal lead against Toronto. We had overtime loss against Panther City. We needed this 6-goal comfortable win. We needed this.
Yeah, especially with all the games, like we've been always getting like the panic attacks, the anxieties raised to the roof. And now this is basically a thank you. We could calm down a little bit, but again, we can't really relax at the situation because we still have 3 important games left of the season. We have 2 on the road, and we still have our final home game the week before we head to Vegas. But again, this is what you have claimed, that all the next 3 teams that we have to face are looking up to us.
They are
in the standings. And again, we have to look down to them and say, no, you're not going to surpass us.
Stay down.
So basically, we need to stay focused per game, 1 game at a time.
Yep.
We did our duties in Philly. We got the win. We got the 6 deficit win. So that's huge to go up against Colorado, which I probably would say is hungry, because after the fact that what we did, at the championship and then some, I think we're starting to find their weaknesses and exploiting them really badly. But again, that's for next week, and that's for the pregame show to talk about. But we should talk about who we think stood out more than the rest. Trevor, take that one.
Long overdue, but breakout game, and it took, week 18 to do it, but he did it. 92, Great Dane Smith is my player of the game, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, especially with the assistant captain finally getting more than a hattie and almost a sock trick that night.
Yep.
Especially leading the charge and, with 12 points and becoming player of the week, especially under the National Lacrosse League's eyes. I would have picked the same thing, but I'm going to go out on a limb here for secondary here.
Sure.
Because Mr. ESPN behind the back goal, I got to go with Bucky. I got to go with Kyle Buchanan.
Welcome back to the score sheet, 91.
Yes. Even though he only had 4 points, 2 of them which were goals, and one of them was probably an ESPN highlight reel.
Oh,
but
at least,
again, this guy fights for loose balls. He creates plays, especially with that go-to play to Dane and right back in front of the net, wide open for the behind the back shot to score. My guy's got to be Kyle Buchanan. Obviously, with that goal state of mind and with just being everywhere on the floor, that's huge to have on your team, especially late in the season.
Every time that guy scores, it's like you got to give him some style points with it. Every goal that he scores is crazy, whether he's dancing around the crease, cherry picking for the ball, or he does his behind the back or through the legs, whatever. Kyle Buchanan, at his height and his age, he's still making crazy acrobatic goals. So 91, welcome back to the score sheet. He was absent from the score sheet at least for the last 2 games. So It's great to see him back on there. And Dane Smith, I think he's found a rhythm, and that's dangerous as we're approaching the month of May and the playoff push. He couldn't have picked a week to get hot better this week. So Dane Smith, my player of the game. Kyle Buchanan, your player of the game. The Bandits are at 8-7, looking to go 9-7. We'll have that preview for you, I think, either tomorrow or early Friday. We'll see. But
Yep.
the Bandits 18-12 winners over Philadelphia. We normally don't really see a lot of matinee afternoon games, but
hmm
the Bandits made that must-see TV in the middle of the afternoon. We'll say that.
Yeah, especially on an early Saturday. Again, especially with how busy the Philadelphia weekend was that week.
Yeah.
As soon as that game was over, they had to literally take off all the field because they had the Flyers game that right after that.
And then they
And
had the
then,
Phillies on at 4 o'clock that afternoon in the
yep,
opening
same
series.
block.
Yep.
And
Yep.
on top of it, they got WrestleMania to worry about too this weekend.
That's true. That's why they had the theme of Saturday's game was WWE wrestling.
That's right. Ricochet made a special guest appearance, which was pretty sweet. I have to admit, that was pretty sweet on TV.
During some of the intermission, or during maybe coming out of halftime, they were playing John Cena's theme song. I heard that playing over the speakers at Wells Fargo Center. I said, yeah, that kind of takes me back to my childhood there. So
there you go.
Listen to that song. But big win, a comfortable win. We finally needed that win, 18-12 over the Philadelphia Wings. Tony, hit him with a sponsor.
Guys, this broadcast is brought to you by Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda, New York, for the best beef wick in town. They have great food, amazing service. Please don't forget to mention the boys of Banditland Boulevard, myself, Tony LaMonica, a.k.a. Boxhead 98TL, along with Trevor the Power Hour over there, and tell them we sent you there to give it a try. So go ahead and give it a shot. Also, we'd like to thank those who are watching us on YouTube, that you can finally see who we are. And we'd like you to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, to hit that notification bell every time you hear about Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. And for those listening in on every known device known to man, on Spotify.fm and Anchor, we'd love to give you guys that 5-star rating. So, guys, if you want to listen in and give us that 5-star rating, we gladly appreciate it to bring you all of Buffalo Bandits lacrosse needs.
Bandits taking care of business. That's great. They did it convincingly. That's greater. Dane Smith is back. That's the greatest thing from this game. We love seeing that. We love seeing great, greater, and greatest. I love that we're talking about a win from last Saturday. I love how we're back above 500. We're back in that March to May. Wasn't as pretty as it was last year or the year before, but these guys, they're playing motivated now. So they got a very, very big game coming up next Friday at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be here to talk about it either tomorrow or Friday. But, Tony, we got to hit him with the 3 words that we say at the end of every show. Whether we win 18-12, lose 18-12, or win 18-0, or win 8 consecutive titles, what 3 words do we say at the end of every show?
Here we go. Let's go, Bandits.
Let's go. It's go time, boys. Go time, boys.